Today is going to be a little bit more of a fun one. I'm going to go through my Spotify Wrapped. You know, they do this thing every year. You go through your top songs, top artists listen to, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to give you guys a little insight into the type of music I listen to, the stuff I listen to, and how I've kind of been shaped. This year's been a really crazy year for me when it comes to like listening to music, my taste and my all the genres I've listened to. You'll see in the stats. I've written them down here. It's kind of all over the place throughout the year because I've been developing, as I've gotten closer to God. I kind of stopped listening to I cut a lot of the crap out, a lot of the heinous songs out that like was, talking in like a devilish manner. And I replaced it with a bunch of stuff. I've kind of been all over the place. So, I'm going to go through it and I've written it down. And, it's a fun thing. That's really what it is. That's really all that Spotify Wrapped is. It's this fun little thing to just kind of, end the year. You see your stats, you see what you've listened to, how things have changed for you over the year. And that's why it's always nice and fun to see everyone posts on their stories. You kind of see it. So I'm going to do a little episode talking about it right now. So for music, I listen to over 24,000 minutes of music, which like for me that's about as much as I listen to. It's not crazy. Like I have friends, they listen to like 100,000 minutes or hours. I think it's minutes. No, hours would be ridiculous. There isn't even 100,000 hours in a year, I don't think. 100,000 minutes. I have friends that listen to that much, right? So 24,000 minutes, it's not exactly nothing. It's a good amount of music that I listen to because I love music, man. Music's great. It's a way to hype me up. It basically, you match your energy by listening to songs. And like, it's a great feeling, if you listen to the right songs, you can listen to songs, positive vibes, hype music, even some sad music, admittedly, like I'll admit it, right? I'll admit it. Even some sad songs. But that's about where my kind of taste is. It's about the same as most years for me. It's about 20,000, which is like, just a couple hours a day pretty much. It's not like some other people who are literally like addicted to it. Like I just use music, it's just fun, enjoy it, right? And I listen to it and I listen to it for many different reasons and in many different circumstances, in many different contexts. So I love it, and that's why my stats are kind of it's a pretty high number, 24,000. And I listen to 201 different genres. That will tell you all you need to know about where my music taste had kind of gone throughout the whole year. I don't know what Spotify classifies as a genre of music, but 201 different genres is crazy. Like that's truly unbelievable. And my top five, it's a very interesting top five. So number one's trap, of course. Like that's just the majority of what I listen to is trap and rap and stuff. Number two is pop rap. Of course, that makes sense, right? You'll see with the songs and the artists that's the majority of it. But I cut back on a lot of it, and that's why because obviously like I heard some lyrics being very devilish and satanistic type of thing. And I was like, okay, certain songs, I had to cut back on it. And, I shifted my mindset. I moved towards more positive stuff. And number three is electronica. I don't know what that means. I think it would have to do with like the weekend. Like it would have to do with the insane amount of weekend music I listen to. I would imagine it falls into that thing. So because he uses a lot of like synths and leads and all that kind of stuff, and it's like okay, yeah. So I would assume. I don't know, but I would assume. Number four is Latin. I had my little phase of a few months where I was listening to a bunch of like older salsa songs, and I was vibing out to them. So that's number four. So I mean, yeah, I know, crazy. And then number five, anime rap. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to, you know, to kind of admit it, right? Anime rap. I listened to this guy. He's kind of an underground artist. His name is Dizzy8, like Dizzy Dizzzy, and then 8 the number. And he makes some good stuff, man. Like it's anime. It's considered anime rap, but like I find that like the right songs, like it's actually really hype stuff. It's not really about like anime. It's kind of cringe when you think anime rap. You think like, oh, it's cringe. No, it's more so because I've listened to this guy. It's qualified under anime rap, but there's a lot of actual like hype stuff in there, and it's more so like God praising music, which is what he tries to put out. And so I listen to a lot of that. It classifies as anime rap, but for the most part, his stuff, I would say go check it out. Recommend it for sure if you're, you're a Christian and you don't really like the mainstream rap scene right now. Go check out some of his stuff, and I think you'll be very impressed with what he has. But that's why the anime rap is number 5, because I listen to a lot of his. It's primarily because of what I listen to there. So 1397 different songs listened to. I'm not sure. I don't think that's actually that much. I don't actually think that's that much in terms of like what other people do, like in comparison. Like you probably have like 2,000. So it's not a lot. My scope was a lot more tight this year in comparison to other years, because I think before I would listen to a bunch of different albums and I would like pick songs from albums. Now I don't really do that. I kind of have, I cut out a bunch of songs, but for the most part, like the main core songs that I have, like the core few hundred songs that I have, is kind of what I just kind of cycle through and rotate through for the majority of it. So that's probably why that number is a bit lower than it was in previous years for me. I'm not entirely sure, but I did have a large scope of different genres. So you would think that I'd have a large scope of different songs as well. But it was more so because in different genres I'd play the same few songs just over and over again. And that's how I'd explain that. And my top five songs. So Wake Me Up by The Weeknd. You'll see that I played that album like no tomorrow, man. Like truly, man, that album sat so deep with me, and I really love all the songs on it, really, like apart from like one or two. And there's not many albums, man. Not many albums where I can say I love every single song on there, apart from one or two. Number one's Wake Me Up. Number two is Cry for Me on the same album. Number three is What Did I Miss by Drake. This one I kind of played because I really like the song. It's a good song. I love like the energy that Drake brings. And considering the Kendrick Drake situation, I wanted Drake to release an album where he was just going hard, and just clapping back at him. It doesn't look like it's gonna be that because he's released a few kind of crappier, more dance songs, and I was like, it kind of ruined it a little bit for me. But I played What Did I Miss like kind of into the ground already, and the album's not even out yet. Number 4 is Open Hearts by The Weeknd. Same album, same thing. Just an amazing song, like just so powerful, and it's just like the beat and the melody of it. I don't want to sing it because obviously I'll get copyrighted, or it's a little bit cringe, or both. So go listen to them for yourself. They're great songs. And number 5 is Assumptions by Sam Gillatry, which that one was my kind of summer vibe song. It was a meme for a little bit on Instagram back in like the summer of this year, and not even maybe like spring, summertime. But I've also played that song to the ground because it was just positive vibes, right? In that moment of the year, I was focused on like just positive vibes. Wasn't listening to a lot of rap. Was listening in that moment a lot of the house, a lot of Latin, a lot of like poppy and like kind of club mix stuff, and then that song as well, being a part of that too. So interesting top 5, but honestly, I'm not surprised by it. Like, obviously I'm sharing it with you, but in terms of what I actually think, I think that makes complete and utter sense, every one of those. I'm actually surprised What Did I Miss was that high, but apart from that, everything else like makes sense so far. But for my top 5 albums, listened to, it's gonna, it's not gonna be very surprising that number 1 is Hurry Up Tomorrow by The Weeknd. Obviously, like I think there are like 8 songs on that album I played more than 20 times, which I don't think I've ever done. I don't think I've ever played an album that much in my life. But when that, like, I don't know, it was just when it came out, I was like, damn, bro, everything hit so deep, and it was like so good, man. It's just so good. Like, it's not even like a lot of it. You could say, oh, The Weeknd has like depressing music and stuff, and some songs are, but for the most part, it's just like deep and powerful. I don't know what it is about it, and I don't really see the depressing part of. Maybe there's a few. Obviously, there's going to be a few, but like, and it just sat with me so deep, and I just kept playing it over and over again. It's so good, and like the song, usually when I play a song like 10 times, it starts to get old. With these songs, they have never never gotten old, even until now. And the album came out in the beginning of January. So even until now, those songs are still like perfectly the same, like hitting those right notes, and it's truly great. So it's no surprise that that's number one. Number two is Wham by Lil Baby. I'm surprised that that is actually so high up. But again, probably because it was released so early in the year, so it's had more time, and I probably just kind of slowly played more of the songs. I didn't really like the album. There were maybe a few good songs on there that I probably played over and over again, and that's why it's kind of contributed. But I didn't really like it. I don't think I played it that many times, like after like February, March. So yeah, I'm surprised it's that high. But a couple good songs like "Dumb Dumb and Dumber" or "Stuff" with Travis Scott, and it's like yeah. So fair enough, but I don't know why that's up there. Number three, now this deserves to be up there, right? "Late Registration" by Kanye. The only reason I started playing it was like maybe in the middle of the year I saw that the album came out only like a few days before my birthday, like the day I was born. The album came out like a few weeks before, and then I was like, wow, really? So this should be my album, right? And then while I listened to it, obviously it's super good, and so I, played the songs over and over again, of course. Like, and I think I still have it saved in my library, so I'll keep playing it whenever I need to like be hit in some good deep way. Like, "Diamonds from Sierra Leone." That's probably my biggest pick from that album, and "We Major" also very very good song on the album. Obviously, you can't mention the album without mentioning "Gold Digger," of course. Like, of course. But yeah, just again, super, super, super good album. "Hear 'Em Say" was also a very good song as well. That one I played a lot as well. So same thing, just great album, proper rap, like real rap. None of this like newer crap, like actual proper, like old Kanye, prime Kanye type of time, and that super super great. And obviously, it's not just because it was close to my birthday; it's because like it actually is a super amazing album. And number five is "Glockavelli" by Key Glock. The only reason this is on here is because it was a new release sometime in like June or July or something. I didn't really like it, but I don't really listen to just albums in general much anymore. Again, more so just more individual songs. But I just played the album a couple times, saved a couple songs from it. Obviously, "No Sweat's" a very good song, like the kind of a lead song. But yeah, apart from that, maybe a couple more that I added. Like, it wasn't actually his best stuff. "Blue Devil" was is that the name of the song? I don't know. If that's the name of the song, I should probably reconsider. In all honesty, if that's the name of the song, I don't think that. I'm not sure. Regardless, there's a couple of decent songs. It's not his best work, but it's on there just because he released it this year and I played it a few times. But I wouldn't have thought that it was up there. So the top five podcasts I've listened to. Obviously, this is a podcast. Maybe next year this podcast will be in your top five most listened to. It's on Spotify, so if you're watching this on YouTube, please give a follow to Spotify, and check it out there. We upload the same stuff on Spotify. If it's just easier for you to watch on Spotify, that's why I have it on there too. But my top five podcast is interesting. Number one is PBD podcast, which it's only up there because I listened to it a lot, maybe in the first half of the year. But as I started to move, I like PBD, I appreciate him, but I started to move away from politics and looking at like politics like that, and trying to focus on more positive things. It got to a point where all they were talking about was like negative stuff, and it was just like the doom of the world and stuff. So I was like, okay, no, I don't want to really deal with that. So I slowly moved away from it, but it's number one, and I'm surprised it's number one. But it's number one because I probably played a lot of it in the beginning of the year. Number two is Modern Wisdom. This should be number one, in my opinion. Modern Wisdom by Chris Williamson. It's just so good. The only reason it's not because I don't watch every single episode. I watch, maybe one every 3 or 4 episodes, let's say. But it's always just great wisdom. And, it's usually my go-to when I'm on a plane. And I did a couple flights this year. So it's always my go-to when I'm on a plane. And it's a long flight because he has a lot of like 3-hour, 4-hour episodes, like that, like the one he did with Alex Hormozy this year. just super good. It's just you go wisdom and just like a bunch of wisdom, bunch of quotes, but bunch of just impactful things and life lessons and things you can just take with you and little tidbits you can learn. It's truly the best podcast out there, in my opinion, if you're actually trying to learn stuff about life and how to live a great life. So I'm surprised it's number 2, but I'd have it number 1 personally. But yes, I give it all the flowers, right? Number 3, the Joe Rogan Experience. That is inevitable. It's the biggest podcast out there. Of course I'm going to have it on there. I really only watch it when there's a guest on that I know and like, if I'm going to be completely honest. But still, because the episodes are super long, I do enjoy it. There's always a lot of funny stuff. And, things are either funny or they're interesting, impactful, whatever it is, some sort of combination. And that's why it's on there, right? Number 4 is the George Janko Show. Again, I'm surprised this isn't higher as well. The only reason is probably because he only uploads an episode once a week. And, Joe Rogan does multiple days a week. Modern Wisdom does 3 a week. George only does 1 a week. So even if it's probably my favorite in terms of like the actual content of it, obviously it's like, you're talking about God, right? It's the true like biggest Christian podcast out there. And, there's always some amazing lessons, some amazing humbling. And, if I'm trying to learn about my faith and I'm trying to grow my faith, or I'm struggling with something, like I'll turn to watching an episode of his podcast, and there's always just amazing quotes, amazing words of wisdom, godly wisdom. Modern wisdom is literally that, modern wisdom, earthly wisdom, because Chris doesn't really believe in God. It's still good stuff, but I think George Janko's show is just that much better because it's wisdom, but godly wisdom. And that makes it just all the more good. There's not really an episode that I say like I don't like when it comes to his podcast. I watch pretty much every single episode, like apart from a few. But really, it's like, yeah, I'm surprised it's lower, but the only reason is because it's once a week. But, I'd recommend it, right? I recommend each and every one of them, even if, like, if they're on my list for a reason, right? So obviously, if I enjoy them, I'll recommend them for you. Obviously, watch this podcast because it's my podcast. Selfishly, admittedly, I will just say that. But if you want to go watch other stuff, it's like these are 10, 20-minute episodes. Maybe the episodes will get longer in the future. Go watch George Janko. That's the number 1, I'd say. Modern Wisdom, I'd say, would be number 2 for you. So super impactful, super humbling for me every time I need to grow my faith and every time I'm struggling with something. Like, of course, that's what God does, right? That's his will, right? He always has an answer to those issues that you have in your life. So in this case, he always, when George speaks, he has a super powerful voice. And, the Holy Spirit, you really, really uses him to spread the word of God all the time. And it's just super great. And number 5 is the Jack Neal podcast. And that one is a guy, again, like kind of closer to Modern Wisdom in terms of style, but Jack Neal always has these interesting guests on, these interesting people, and he's always talking about these interesting things. So it's like there's always just, something cool and interesting and entertaining and kind of attention grabbing when it comes to his episodes. So that's why he's on there as well. And he's just kind of squeaked into number 5. Same reason. He only uploads once a week, and I don't watch anywhere near as many of his episodes. But because it's just such good stuff, like of course it squeaks in, right? And like in terms of like, he's a young guy, right? Like he's probably the youngest guy on here. Like he's only a few years older than me, and he's had the success that he's had. Hopefully one day I'll reach that as well, depending on, what God's will is and what happens for me. So, I kind of have that like, resemblance and that kind of relatability to him, and that's why he's on here. And so for the final part of my Spotify Wrapped is my top 5 artists. It went in that order. I'll put a couple of screenshots, of course, when I, you would have seen the screenshots already as I came up with the stats. Top 5 artists was the last thing because probably it's the biggest thing, and there's literally 0 surprises. Like it is exactly everyone that you would imagine, given what I have just said, what my things were, what my top songs and albums were. I'll just read them out. Number 1 is The Weeknd. There's no doubts about it. Number 2 is Drake. Number 3 is Lil Baby. Number 4 is Key Glock, and number 5 is Kanye. Like, they were all mentioned already today. They already had songs and albums in in my top songs and top albums today. No surprise that these are my top 5. Even if Lil Baby's fallen off, I'm gonna be real, and Key Glock didn't have his best stuff this year, like just the combination of listening to their albums plus listening to older, better songs as well puts them up there, right? So yeah, that's that. That is my Spotify Wrapped. Let me know, let me know in the comments. What are a couple of stats of your rap? What are a couple of interesting things that you did on your Spotify Wrap? Let me know. You don't have to post everything. Just say, oh, who's your favorite artist, right? Who's your favorite artist of the year? Who's your top 5? Your top 5 songs? Like those are probably the biggest ones. There were a couple other things in there. I left it out because it's like there's a couple other things I don't really want to talk about. But that's it. That's my Wrapped. Just a little fun episode, a little more lighthearted thing. Because it's always good. It's always good. There's always, the reason why Spotify Wrapped is so, like, everyone kind of talks about it when it comes out is because everyone wants to kind of have this analysis, right? It's this reflection time, right? Everyone wants to have the reflection, right? The kind of looking back, right? The nostalgia even, right? Of looking back on the year, right? And being like, wow, what did I listen to, right? What were my stats? People love stats. People love facts. And Spotify Wrapped is a very cool thing because of it, and they always find something unique, a new unique way to kind of display it and show you the stuff, which is always cool, always fun. So that's why it's fun. We all want stats, we all want the facts, we all want to reflect, we all want that nostalgia. So I've shared with you guys my nostalgia and my stats with you. Let me know what yours are, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next episode. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing something different. A little bit less lighthearted, maybe a little deeper. I haven't really decided what I'm going to do. But whatever happens, continue to glorify God in all that you do. That's all I'll tell you every day. And, the reason why my Spotify Wrapped is so chaotic is because I was making like the shift in my listening of music, because I was like, okay, I want to cut out a lot of like the kind of satanic stuff and make things a lot more about praising God, and still enjoy the music, which I still like to do. And I still like hype music to hype me up in the gym or before a big game or whatever. But apart from that, just seek to do better every day, and, seek to glorify God in the way you listen to music, in the people that you have in your ears, right? Remember, man, with the podcast section, the podcasters, you're listening to the podcast more than you're listening to your own family. So be careful who you have in your ear, right? If you trust me, great. I invite you to, listen to things, right? But you have to make sure that the people that you're listening to, the podcast you're listening to, are trustworthy. I saw the top 10 podcasts on Spotify list, and there's a few on there that's just a load of garbage, like just a load of pure garbage, man. And it's like, yeah. So be careful. Be careful what you listen to when it comes to podcasts or songs. Be careful what you put in your ears, because that will directly influence you in your life. I didn't want to turn this into a big life lesson, but that's really the essence, and that's why mine is so crazy. So enjoy your music, enjoy your shows, but just be weary when things can sometimes go too far away, and you're not glorifying God anymore. Always bring God into the middle of it. Always bring him into the center and seek to do it better every day. So I'll see you tomorrow for the very next episode.